I'd like to call the meeting to order. I am Tanya Cook, Chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you all to the committee meetings this morning, October 4th, 2023. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D headquarters building located at 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. Safety briefing. I'd like to invite our Manager of Safety, Shane Dockin, to provide a briefing regarding protocol for all individuals in attendance at the board meeting today in the event of an emergency.
Good morning, Shane Dockin, Safety Manager. We are currently located at 7350 World Communications Drive at our M.U.D headquarters building on the first floor in our boardroom. Please note there are two exits out of this room. The first exit is located at the door at the back. The second exit is located at the door to my right. If you proceed out the door to my right and head down the hallway, you'll find the closest fire extinguisher, first aid kit, AED, and stop the bleed kit in case of an emergency. With that in mind, can I get a show of hands for all individuals that are currently CPR and AED certified? That's great, thanks. If there were a medical emergency in this room for any reason today, the security staff at the front desk would contact 911 and then escort EMS services into this room to help resolve the matter. If there were a severe weather event, we would proceed out the door to my right to the main hallway and shelter in place. If we needed to evacuate this building for any reason, we would head out the door to my right, take two lefts, and then head over to the parking structure for accountability. And that concludes today's safety briefing. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Cook.
Here.
Friend.
Here.
Sidzik.
Here.
McGowan.
Here.
Howard. Here. Kavanaugh.
Here.
Begley.
Here.
I would like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available on the wall in the back of the boardroom. Construction and operations. Interim Senior Vice President, Chief Operations Officers Andy Melville will now review the proposed capital expenditures.
Good morning. Andy Melville, Interim Senior Vice President, Chief Operations Officer. I'll be reviewing the capital expenditure letter behind tab 5. This month there are 2 items under system improvements and 5 under buildings, plants, and equipment. I'll be speaking to 3 of these this morning. The first item is number 1 on your first page there and requests approval for $12 million over 3 years towards information technology systems digital transformation initiative, and can be found on page 1 of the letter. This project will focus on the modernization of our core technology platform to the most current architecture. This effort is similar to our capital improvement program investments to ensure that the district is running efficient, secure, and functional technology solutions. Many of the district's current technology platforms, including SAP, our enterprise software, were deployed more than 10 years ago. This initiative will provide the foundation to allow the addition of enhanced and new business capabilities, such as customer service, self-service portals, asset management, and project management functions, among many others. This is a multi-year effort, which with board approval will begin at the end of 2023 and is targeted to continue through 2025. CIO Sue Lopsinger provided more detailed background information and context regarding this effort several weeks ago in her letter as well. I guess with that, are there any questions on this initiative before we move on to the rest of the letter?
Andy, how much of that money is going to be spent in 23 and 24? It's over 3 years.
Yeah, I'd probably look at Sue to give some detail on those expenditures.
Good morning, Sue Lobsiger, Senior Vice President and CIO. The effort will run over primarily in 24, so most of the spend will be in 24, and then it will carry over into 25.
And I assume it's all in the budget that we looked at before.
We budgeted multi-year, so this would have been budgeted during the last budget cycle. So we were budgeting in the summer of 22, and we budgeted over multiple years so that we didn't see one big spike in IT, but it's spread out across multiple years.
Okay, thank you.
The second item I'll review is a transmission main condition assessment project on the bottom of page 1, listed as number 2, WP 2036, for a total cost of $478,955. Jay, if you could bring up the map. This project is a condition assessment covering 2.5 miles of a 42-inch pre-stressed concrete cylinder pipe transmission main in Harrison Street. As you can see, it stretches from the project area is that purple horizontal line there. It stretches from about 48th Street to 78th Street. This assessment is part of the ongoing transmission system integrity program, where sections of the 13 miles of large diameter suspect concrete pipe in our system are inspected each year. For reference, we have 44 miles of pre-stressed concrete transmission pipe. The transmission pipe assessment program is separate from our distribution system assessment program that we spoke about last month. This transmission main feeds the 78th and Harrison pump station and supplies water to Southwest Omaha in Zone 2 from Florence and Platte South water treatment facilities. The project itself will utilize the free swimming tool called Pipe Diver, which we successfully piloted, if you'll remember, from Field Club Reservoir to 36th and Edna pump station last year. Jay, if you could pull up the PowerPoint, please. You may remember from these pictures in the 2022 presentation, that's what the device looks like. If we move to the second slide, you'll see a representation of its movement along the pipeline, where it can detect compromised sections of pipe, it can capture video, and detect wire defects in the pipe itself. This free swimming tool can navigate many bends and valves in the main without need for additional access points. If we go to slide 3, you'll see the insertion setup where the device is placed into the main, and then slide 4 shows the extraction net which catches it. Advantage of the technology is the main can remain operational during this inspection and does not need to be drained. 2.5 miles of a 42-inch main is equivalent to nearly 1 million gallons of water, which would otherwise be drained and wasted. This project will not affect customer service or service to any of our customers, and will include an assessment with a condition report to identify targeted repairs to mitigate the risk of future breaks. This conditional assessment is scheduled for this fall pending board approval.
Andy, question?
Yeah.
So 2.5 miles worth at little under 400,000. Are there a lot of companies that do this? It must not be for what they're getting per foot to do this. I mean, I understand, you know, the interruption or non-interruption and the amount of water, but are there more than 1 or 2 companies that do this? Because that, to me, uneducated, seems like a lot of money to just check 2.5 miles of pipe.
Sure. So with put in perspective, like a transmission main of this size, I believe it's about $8 million a mile for any replacement. This is part of that suspect pre-stressed concrete pipe that we have that 13 miles of. And so this is part of the program to ensure that we don't have a catastrophic break. Similar like...
No, I understand that. I'm saying, I understand the need for it. I'm asking about the cost. And was this competitively bid? Or are there just 1 or 2 companies to do? You know, how does that work?
Sure. There's numerous companies that provide different technologies, and you can pick whether you do robotics like we have in the past, where you drain the main and you drive basically a remote control vehicle through the main for assessment. I might look at Masa to talk a little bit about the request for proposals and how we got to this point.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and grab this.
Check. Good morning, Masania, Vice President of Engineering. Yeah, we looked at a variety of different platforms for condition assessing transmission mains. This was negotiated, this was not bid out, but as we evaluated all the different options, this was the least impactful to the customers and just was most effective. And we've talked to other utilities using this as well. Pipe Diver has been used by folks on the West Coast and in the Midwest as well. So as part of we're part of a AWWA Condition Assessment Committee. We talked through these so that we're not using each utility's project as a learning curve. But we found this one as what we find most effective for assessing this line.
So it was negotiated but not bid. So is there more than one company that does this?
As far as the pipe diver platform, it's exclusive to Xylem, the company that does this.
Okay, thank you.
I'll start over. The last item I'd like to highlight can be found on the top of page 2 of the letter and listed as number 1 under buildings, plants, and equipment. This request is for land acquisition and development for a future southwest pump station and reservoir. As part of the 2022 Water System Master Plan, the district validated the necessity of a new southwest pump station and reservoir to support recent growth and development in the southwest portion of Zone 2. This new pump station and reservoir will also provide the capability to support growth in the Sarpy County to 2050 and beyond. The district has identified approximately 20.3 acres of land adjacent to the new 24-inch and 36-inch transmission mains in the area of South 168th Street and Cape Hard Road. You'll see the map that Jay has pulled up that will show you the highlighted area. On the right hand of the screen is this 23 acres. There's also some easements involved for the approach mains in and out of the future facility. The proposed location will be suitable for a large repump station and 2 10 million gallon reservoirs. You can see the circles placed there and just representative of an idea of what the site would look like once developed. This request includes funds for the land and easement purchase, due diligence, site conceptual design, and platting services. Purchase negotiations are ongoing with the property owner as the district legal team finalizes the land easement and purchase agreement. Requests for proposals were received and evaluated to provide the platting coordination, survey, and site investigation and conceptual design services. Approval of this request will also authorize the president to enter into a consultant agreement with HCR Engineering for $91,300 for these design services. The 2023 expenditures are estimated at approximately $155,000, with the remaining cost incurred in 2024 under a separate budget line. The current owner has indicated they would prefer to close in 2024. The future design and construction of the pump station and reservoir will be timed to support water system growth in the surrounding area. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Andy, on number 5, the Platte South Water Production Facility, the electrical building, are we incorporating into this new building the lessons we learned in Florence, like elevated platform, get the electrical stuff off the ground? In the other items here, we're paying to elevate the electrical. I assume our lessons learned at Florence are going to be incorporated in this new building.
That is correct, yes. And we just started those CIP meetings where the base information is being gathered so we can put together designs, and those lessons learned are being incorporated. Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Interim Director of Plant Engineering, Adam Gartner, will review the acceptance of contracts and payment of final estimates. Good morning.
Good morning, Adam Gartner, Interim Director of Plant Engineering. I'll be presenting the next agenda item on tab 6, this month's finals letter. There are 5 projects on this month. 2 are water development projects. 1 is a water pioneer main. 1 is a water infrastructure replacement project, and the last one is a water transmission main project. I was just going to highlight just a couple of the projects this month. First is item A. This is the West Dodge transmission main project. Judds Brothers Construction Company was the contractor who completed this work. Construction started early in 2022, and the last phase was placed into service in May of 2023. Transmission main will supply pressure zone 3 in northwest Omaha metro area from the new West Dodge pump station. Project did end up about 5% more than the contract amount due to the change order number 1 that was presented at the August board meeting. Second item I was going to highlight is item D. This is a water infrastructure replacement project that was carried over from our 2022 project list. Project is located at South 124th Street, just north of West Center Road. Roll-Off Construction was the contractor. There was a 8% decrease in the contract amount. Decrease was primarily the result of less than expected costs for concrete removal and restoration, and also fewer than expected water services that were reconnected to the project. When outlining this work, we made some conservative estimates in the scope of work required just due to the project's connection with the Bel Air Plaza commercial development located there at 120th and Center Road. About 80% of the main was installed in 2022, and we finished up the last 20% in 2023. The project was quite large. We were able to abandon 2.1 miles of cast iron water main with this project. That was all I had planned to highlight. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Vice President of Procurement and Enterprise Services, John Zellers, will now review the bids on materials and contracts.
Good morning. John Zellers, Vice President, Procurement and Enterprise Services. Bids on materials and contracts may be found under tab 7. There are just a couple items that I'd like to highlight this morning, and the first may be found on the middle of page 2. We accepted bids for painting pumps, piping, and other metallic surfaces in the Skyline Pump Station. Only one bid was received, which exceeded budget. Engineering has recommended that the bid by Mongan Painting be rejected, at which time they will look at redefining the project scope and determining next steps. The last several items may be found on page 3. We are asking for approval to utilize State of Nebraska and, in one case, University of Nebraska contracts for the purchase of 62 different vehicles and equipment, including SUVs, transit vans, and large track excavator. All the bids were conducted using a competitive bidding process, and the vendor that was awarded each contract has agreed to extend the pricing to the district. And that's all I planned on discussing, but would be happy to answer any questions.
John, on page 2, on the top of the page, the audio-video equipment for headquarters, $106,000. What are we purchasing there? What's that for?
So this is for room 160, I believe. And when we renovated HQ, the only AV that we put in there was a mobile TV very similar to this. And that's not meeting the needs. And so we recently installed AV equipment in classroom A at the Operations Center, and this is to match that. So it will include large monitors that are actually mounted on the wall and video, very similar to what you see in here, with the ability to video conference and be able to collaborate remotely. You're welcome. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Vice President of Procurement and Enterprise Services, John Veleradsky. Is that John Veleradsky will now review the proposed construction manager at risk for the CC1 and CC2 projects.
Good morning. I appreciate the promotion, but it's John Veleradsky, Director of Facilities Management. So, but I do appreciate that. But I think my boss probably would not appreciate that this morning. So, no, I'm just kidding. All in fun. Okay. So, good morning. This morning I will be discussing the approval for construction manager at risk, or CMAR services, for the CC1 and CC2 projects that can be found under tab 8. The programming phase for both CC1 and CC2 have been completed, with initial design currently in progress. CMAR services are required to assist in collaborative efforts with the design team for completion of the design phase and to perform the necessary construction phase services. Requests for qualifications and proposals were developed and publicly advertised in coordinated efforts with the design team of HBA and Davis Design, along with Project Control, who is acting as the district's owner's representative for both projects. 6 contractors submitted proposals for services. The CMAR selection process is more involved than a typical consultant or contractor selection process, requiring both a selection committee and negotiating committee. The selection committee is responsible for evaluating and ranking the proposals based on a list of established criteria. The negotiation committee is responsible for independently reviewing and ranking the proposals, taking the recommendation of the selection committee into consideration, and negotiating with the highest ranked contractor. A selection committee was formed consisting of the following members: Director Friend, members from Facilities Management, Project Control, and the design team, and a district customer, Mr. Glenn Turner. Proposals were ranked according to the following guidelines for each contractor: financial resources, ability of personnel to perform, quality of performance on past projects, ability to perform within the given schedule for both projects, and a grouping of factors including character, integrity, reputation, experience, judgment, and efficiency. Based on initial rankings, 4 contractors were interviewed by the selection committee. Upon completion of the interviews, MCL Construction was selected as the best choice to perform the work based on the following: successful completion of the headquarters remodeling project, current work performance on the Operations Center reconfiguration project, and the ability to successfully complete both new construction and renovation projects based on past performance. The negotiation committee, consisting of members from senior management, facilities management, legal, purchasing, and project control, accepted the recommendation of the selection committee and performed a successful negotiation of services with MCL Construction. Facilities management is requesting approval to proceed with MCL Construction as the selected CMAR for the CC1 and CC2 projects. MCL Construction will be required to provide a guaranteed maximum price to be within the approved budget at completion of 60% schematic design. I would like to take a moment to recognize the efforts of Director Friend and Mr. Glenn Turner for their participation on the selection committee. Reviewing and ranking all 6 proposals required significant effort in a short amount of time. Director Friend provided valuable insight and feedback to the selection process from his experience and perspective as a member of the board of directors. Mr. Turner also provided valuable insight and feedback from the perspective of a district customer, donating a significant amount of his own personal time to the selection process, and if I'm correct, I believe his only request that we didn't interfere with his grandkids' time. So we really appreciate his donated personal time to the effort. So I would be happy to take any questions you may have.
Just a quick question. On the last paragraph on page 2 there, like you just said, they have to guarantee a price at 60% schematic design. What's that mean and how does that work? 60%, how do you guarantee a price and at what level? How does that work?
So where we're at in the process currently with the design team, we have worked up basically through the schematic design phase for both CC1 and CC2, and we're working toward what we call a 30% design phase where we want to bring the contractor on board. The bonus of this whole CMAR process is to bring the contractor on board to help with the design process and to also do the construction process, to work with the design team to identify cost-saving measures for the things that we think we want to do, but to give us an opinion of how they think we might be able to trade off some things to accomplish what we want, the major goals we want for both projects within the budget. So over probably about the next 6 months during the design meetings, we'll be working toward that 60% design, which then we can start, we'll have a better idea with the outreach to the subcontractors through MCL Construction of what those costs should be. We have an idea of what they should be. We have a high-level cost estimate, but bringing MCL Construction on board will allow us to pinpoint those costs and then work toward that. We'll have a better idea what that guaranteed maximum price is. So right now, there's a little bit of variability. There's a little bit of risk built into what they think that cost should be, but as we work toward that 60% design, we'll be able to dial into that cost a lot more closely with less variance on the price.
So once you get to the 60% design of the project, then they're on the hook for the cost based on that, the rest to finish it off after the 60%.
That is correct. And obviously there's some contingencies built into that pricing, both from our end and from the contractor's end, but it's all working within an approved budget that we've been given for the project. And then if there's any, as we've talked about before, the benefit of the CMAR process is to try to minimize or even eliminate change orders as part of the process, and you're trying to anticipate those items that would cause significant change orders down the road. So theoretically, as you work toward that 60% design, you should have identified those major price ticket items that would have caused any price points that would be a problem in the future during construction.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. How did you identify Mr. Turner for his input?
If I could have Mr. Friend help support me on this question.
I wrangled him into it.
Okay, good.
Basically, he's on the SID board out in my neighborhood, and he's also on the HOA board, and try to find somebody who will volunteer 18 or 20 hours of their time to pour over things that are not real exciting. And so I asked him, and he said yes.
Good. It's an engaged person in his community. As long as you don't step on his grandkid time, that's good.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions?
Yeah. Not at all.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Vice President of Engineering, Masania, will now review the proposed main extensions. Good morning.
Good morning, Masania, Vice President of Engineering. This morning I'll be reviewing the main extensions letter behind tab 9. We have 3 main extensions for this month. The 3 projects are all water and include water service and fire protection for a total of 149 lots, including a mix of residential, school, and commercial lots. These are located in subdivision districts 1 and 2. I will highlight the first project on the letter, which is WP 1951. And Jay, if you can pull up the map showing the location of that project. Thank you. This project includes a 12-inch water main extension along 132nd Street, shown going up and down north and south there with that red line, and just south of State Street to the north there. This work was originally authorized in 2007 by the board with the Cimarron Grove subdivision, which is located southwest of 132nd and State Street. We are bringing this back to the board given the significant amount of time that has passed and as an update with the current bid and estimated pricing. The water main along 132nd Street was placed on hold back in 2007 due to Douglas County's plans to pause road construction along 132nd Street at that time. So to be clear, at that time, there was no road there along 132nd, it was farmland. The county's plan to construct 132nd Street was delayed due to slower economic development in that area. The housing crash of 2008 definitely had an impact there. The first quarter mile was paved south of State Street in 2019, and then the county is currently paving the next quarter mile, which is shown as Reynolds to Potter Street there to the south. That's happening as we speak. Installing the water main now will be more efficient and cost effective before other utilities occupy the right-of-way and before adjacent lots are developed along there. And that's all I have to cover today, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Personnel, Vice President of Human Resources, Bonnie Savine, will now review employee wage and/or salary increases and ratifications.
Good morning, Bonnie Savine, Vice President, Human Resources. I have a few items to cover this morning, and we'll begin with employee counts. For the end of September 2022, we had 834 regular full-time employees and 3 regular part-time for a total of 837. To end September of 2023, we have 887 regular full-time employees, 5 regular part-time employees for a total of 892. We also had 11 temporary part-time employees at the end of September. That was comprised of 2 temporary part-time employees and 9 interns. A review of jobs actively in various stages of the job placement process includes 7 jobs that have a requisition routing for approval, 8 jobs that are posted currently. 5 of those are external only, and you'll see those on the monitor. 2 are internal only, and we have 1 that is both internal and external. We have 8 jobs that are in the application review or interview stages, so those will be bringing forth some recommended selections soon. And we have 1 job with 1 selected candidate that is going through onboarding. Before I jump into tab 10, I would like to share, we have been able to arrange for the community blood bank to hold a blood donation drive at our benefits fair, which will be held on Thursday, October 19th. And that is from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. during the day of the fair. Employees and their family members are encouraged to sign up for that using the online enrollment process. If you have questions, just reach out to Human Resources. And the positive thing about the community blood bank is that all of their blood stays local. Okay. Behind tab 10, you will find the wage and/or salary increases and ratifications letter. Human Resources is recommending the Board of Directors approve wage or salary increases for 19 employees this month. We have 10 OAC employees with a wage increase due to promotion, and we have 9 OAC employees with a wage increase due to a natural job progression promotion. Are there any questions on that letter? Okay, I will move on to tab 11. The district's collective bargaining agreement with the IBEW 1521 includes language that an annual wage reclassification will be conducted. The 2023 process is now concluded. The reopener committee held 10 meetings. Those meetings impacted 33 employees in 8 jobs. The committee is recommending adjustments to 3 jobs affecting wages for 5 employees. Those are outlined in the letter behind tab 11, and they include jobs of administrative clerk 3 in water distribution, stores clerk 4, and crew leader of stores in the stores division. I certainly would be remiss if I did not thank Terry Kroll and Tom Todd, along with Katie Pulte and Jessica Kraft, for their efforts to lead that process, and of course to all of those who participated as well. Are there questions on tab 11's letter? Okay, thank you. And finally, on tab 12, during the implementation of the district's new workforce time and attendance system, SPA overtime compensation rules were reviewed so that we could code those and implement that in the system. That review included prior board directives regarding SPA exempt positions earning overtime hours for time worked beyond 40 hours per week. As part of the review, meetings were held with management as well as some of the impacted employee groups to gather feedback and data. Management expects to continue that review through the next several months. However, notwithstanding the fact the review is ongoing, management has identified 2 critical compensation-related benefits that should be addressed immediately. Those 2 benefits are compensation for rest period and for emergency call-outs. Approval of the recommendation for the letter behind tab 12 will allow SPA employees in 4 divisions performing emergency response that are eligible for overtime and who are presently utilizing rest period and emergency call out to continue being paid those premiums. Details related to the premiums are outlined in the letter, and management recommends Board of Directors approve the use of those 2 overtime-related premiums effective immediately. Additionally, at last month's board meeting, I would like to just note regarding the letter for SPA compensation phase 2, I had stated management was not asking the board to take action on the letter, and that management would continue to work with the personnel committee, and the letter would be brought back to this meeting. Since then, management has continued to work on this recommendation, and that effort continues. At this time, evaluation of compensation for SPA supervisors is ongoing, and management will administer compensation using existing policy while we finalize a recommendation to bring to a future board meeting.
Bonnie, if I could,
Yes.
since Director Bagley and I have talked about this as part of the Personnel Committee, just to kind of boil it down, we're just codifying what we were doing already, but we want to codify this so that the board has approved in the event of an audit by the state auditor or anyone else that would say, why are you doing this and where did you get authority? You're asking the board to codify what we've already done. Or what has
Absolutely.
been practiced in the past.
That is correct.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Just a quick question. You talked about the fair. Thank you for doing that again. Thank you. Good thing I have these guys.
Yes.
That's going to be over at the firefighters hall again, as it always is, on 60th and Grover?
Correct, 7 a.m. till 4:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senior Vice President and General Counsel Mark Mendenhall will now present the interlocal agreement for Potter Street and State Highway 133 improvements.
Good morning, Mark Mendenhall, Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and I will be presenting the recommendations behind tabs. Let's see, this would be 13 and 14, I believe. So these are both interlocal agreements. Interlocal Cooperation Act require approval by the governing body, you all. 13 is an interlocal agreement with the Nebraska Department of Transportation and a neighboring SID. The interlocal agreement pertains to public improvements along Highway 133 and Potter Street. So if you can picture in your mind the approximately 50 acres that the district purchased several years ago that Mr. Velorazki just spoke about regarding construction manager at risk activities, so to build the new construction center. This interlocal largely pertains to an acceleration. Oh, there you go, look at that. There's Potter Street. You can see Potter Street is not connected to Highway 133. Obviously, that's something that we want to have connected. And then we will construct acceleration and deceleration lanes along Highway 133. So this interlocal agreement pertains to those roadway improvements and cost allocation. Costs are shared between the district and the SID that owns the property right about where the mouse is. There will be a second interlocal agreement. We will eventually construct a traffic signal because our crews want to turn south on Highway 133 for access into the metro area or along the interstate. I'm anticipating at next month's meeting I'll have an interlocal agreement addressing the cost allocation for the traffic signal. But for now, this is just roadway improvements along Potter and Highway 133, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Moving on, tab 14 is an interlocal agreement, and if you look behind that letter, you'll see all of the parties, the Department of Natural Resources, the Lower Platte, South and North, and Papio, Missouri River NRDs, Lincoln's water system, and the district. These are the parties that created the Lower Platte River Consortium via the Interlocal Cooperation Act. And that agreement that was entered into in, I believe it was 2016, provided that the parties can agree to 1-year extensions of the creation of that consortium. And so I am requesting the board authorize another 1-year extension. So there's no financial commitment. This is just, we're going to continue with the consortium through 2024. And I'm happy to answer any questions on that as well.
Mark, could you remind me, what's the consortium do?
Primarily study water levels, water flow along the lower Platte River as it impacts all of those parties. So we have contributed dollars and used those dollars to fund studies along that corridor.
Does this impact anything that the legislature has looked at or done? Have we provided them information, whether they asked or we offered? Because that water use, especially along the Platte, has always been kind of a big deal issue, and it's made its way to the legislature. So I don't know if what I'm connecting is something that would have come up.
It certainly has the potential to impact, if I am stating this correctly, when Governor Ricketts was in office, you have the Star Wars, which is the lake in Ashland, and then also the canal project coming from Colorado. Those are two projects that could impact lower Platte River flow. And I am not aware, Rick would be the better person to answer. Rick serves as our representative on the consortium. I'm not aware of information provided to the legislature, but information is provided to executive branches such as the DNR.
It sounds almost like it's better for us to be involved than not be involved, because every one of these entities has a vested interest in the use of that resource. So,
absolutely, yes, sir.
Thank you.
And Mark, do these, does the consortium, does a group meet on a monthly, biannual, annual basis? How often do they meet, or is it just informal?
It is not informal. It is, again, Rick would be the better person to answer. It is not monthly. I believe they meet at least quarterly, if not on an as-needed basis. In addition to those quarterly meetings, Rick travels to, I believe, either Lincoln, Kearney. I don't know if we've hosted any here, but there are numerous meetings throughout the year. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
What sort of issues do they look at? Do they look at things like the flow, the fertilizer flow? What would be the terminology for this? It was always a very big issue down in Lincoln. The things that are impacting the water that are coming off the farms?
I'm not aware so much of, I believe quality is an issue. I think the focus as it has been described to me has been more primarily related to flow, so stream flow and appropriations along that corridor. So who is using the water, where it is going, how much is flowing from point A to point B, how much is available for the needs for these members. What's their need and what's their future needs.
So sort of like the impact in the winter flow and things like that vary with the seasons. I mean, that sounds like what their intent is.
Yes, absolutely. I just don't know how much they get into like fertilizer runoff from agricultural activities.
That was always a critical, well, it seems like that would be a critical issue for all of us.
Agreed. And I will follow up with Rick and get an answer for you on that.
Thank
Rick
you.
Apologizes. He is, I believe it's a consortium or a somewhat of a consortium tour that he is a part of out at Platte West this morning, so he apologizes he couldn't be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer Mark Myers will now present a proposal to authorize Gas System Revenue Bonds Series 2023.
Good morning. Mark Myers, Senior Vice President, Chief Financial Officer. I'll be speaking to the information found behind tab 15 related to the planned 2023 Gas Department bond offering. Management is requesting approval of a bond resolution authorizing the issuance of gas system bonds provided they meet certain parameters, which would include a par value not to exceed $91 million and a final maturity date not later than 12/31/2044. These bonds will be repaid over 20 years and are intended to generate net proceeds of $88.6 million. This includes $75.3 million for renovation of the existing construction center and construction of a new construction center, CC2, as well as $13 million to complete the LNG plant upgrades that are currently underway. In June of this year, the board approved a supplemental capital expenditure request authorizing the district to spend up to $80.4 million for the two construction projects, CC1 and CC2. The district plans to use approximately $5.1 million of operating cash, along with the $75.3 million of bond proceeds to pay for these projects. Related to the LNG plant, the district issued gas system bonds in March of 2022, generating net proceeds of $130.7 million, which included $70.3 million for the LNG plant and $60.4 million to fund a portion of the gas infrastructure replacement program. Because the original estimate for the LNG plant included a contingency for unidentified costs, the 2022 bond issuance was sized based on more definitive cost estimates that were available at that time. As work progressed and cost projections were refined, a supplemental capital expenditure request was submitted to the board this past May, which authorized the district to spend a total of $86 million for the LNG plant upgrades. Based on this revised cost estimate, an additional $13.3 million of borrowings is needed to complete the project. The 2023 budget did include a planned issuance of these bonds, but at a level that would result in net proceeds of $73.4 million. Considering the update to the cost projections, we're now requesting net proceeds of $88.6 million. And with your approval of the resolution, management will work with our financial advisors at Piper Sandler and our bond counsel at Gilmore Bell to issue these bonds. Our representatives from Piper Sandler, Todd Coffey and Matt Courtney, are joining us virtually this morning, and Colleen Duncan is with us here in person should you have any questions for them. The first step, if you approve, will be to secure credit ratings for these bonds, and we have 2 meetings scheduled tomorrow with 2 different credit agencies subject to your approval. After that, all the necessary documentation will be prepared to market the bonds to sell in late October, with a closing and receipt of proceeds scheduled for early November. Any questions?
Mark, what will be our total bond indebtedness, assuming we approve the $88.6 million?
On the gas side of the business, we currently have $139 million. This would add 88 to that. Total.
227. I assume some of that will fall off before the maturity of these bonds?
Yes, we have bonds that were issued in 2018 that would roll off in 2038, and then the others were issued last year, so that would be 2042.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public in attendance today who would like to address the board? Do any board members have any further comments? This meeting is now concluded. We will reconvene for regular monthly board meeting in 10 minutes, which is 9:12. Jay? Thank you. I would like to call the meeting to order. I am Tanya Cook, Chairperson of the Metropolitan Utilities District Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you all to the regular monthly board meeting this morning, October 4th, 2023. This meeting is being live streamed from the boardroom at the M.U.D headquarters, 7350 World Communications Drive, and a recording of this meeting will be uploaded at the to the M.U.D website after the meeting's conclusion. Roll call.
Cook.
Here.
Friend.
Here.
Sidzik.
Here.
McGowan.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Kavanaugh.
Here.
Begley.
Here.
I would like to advise all those in attendance that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available on the wall in the back of the boardroom. And for those who wish to participate, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of minutes for the committee meetings and regular board meeting for September 6, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Capital Expenditures, Director Friend.
Thank you. This item was discussed in committee, and I move approval as outlined in the memo from Andy Melville dated September 28.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Acceptance of contracts and payment of final estimates, Director Friend.
Thank you. Also discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Adam Gartner dated September 18th.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
Yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Bids on materials and contracts, Director Friend.
Thank you. This item was also discussed in committee, and I move approval as outlined in the memo from Sherry Lightfoot dated September 22nd.
Second?
Discussion?
Just really quick, Madam Chair, I had asked during the break Mr. Mendenhall if they could send me and any other board member that would be interested, just kind of a list, because it's just a lack of my understanding for what we're buying for audio video equipment for $106,000. Just seemed kind of high to me. Okay. So I asked them that they could send me an email, and I would invite any other board member that would want to look at that. I don't want to pull it. I just want to know what we're spending it on, because it seemed like quite a bit. So
I understand. Thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Cook.
Yes.
Friend.
yes.
Sidzik.
Yes.
McGowan.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Bids on materials and contracts.
Thank you. Also discussed in committee, and I will note I appreciate Mr. Veloradzky's acknowledgement of my time, but as a board member, I felt like, and being CNO, that it was my obligation. But Glenn Turner really is the guy that put a lot of time in. I want to again publicly acknowledge and thank him for doing that. And I am pretty comfortable I am comfortable with the selection of this group. I guess I should wait till comments and just make a motion to approve. Sorry.
You're on a roll, man.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
I got excited about it. So I move approval as outlined, also discussed in committee, I move approval as outlined in the memo from John Veloradzky dated September 22nd.
Second.
Discussion or further discussion?
I am excited. This was a very educational process for me, and I'm confident with this CMAR process, and I look forward to the results.
Thanks for your time for doing this, Dave. Really, really appreciate it on behalf of the board.
I got educated. It was great. Thanks.
Right.
Is there a second somewhere?
think I gave him a second.
Yes.
Do you want another?
No.
A third?
A third?
Hip, hip hooray. I mean,
How about roll call?
Cook,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Sidzik,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Begley.
yes.
Okay, main extensions.
Thank you. Also discussed in committee. I move approval as outlined in the memo from Masa Nia dated September 28th.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Sidzik,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Wage and/or salary increases and ratifications. Director Begley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for approval of the wage and/or salary increases and ratifications as discussed in committee this morning and outlined in Ms. Savine's memo dated September 26, 2023.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Sidzik,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
2023 wage reopeners recommendations. Recommendation, Director Begley.
Thank you. I move for approval of the bargaining unit wage reopener as discussed in committee this morning and outlined in Ms. Savine's memo dated September 27, 2023.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Cook,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Sidzik,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
SPA overtime premium pay ratification, Director Begley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move for approval of the SPA overtime premium pay ratification as discussed in committee this morning and outlined in Ms. Savine's memo dated September 29, 2023.
Second.
Discussion?
I want to thank Director Friend for clarifying that we're simply codifying a practice we've already been doing. Thanks.
Good. Roll call.
Cook,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Sidzik,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Interlocal agreement, Potter Street and State Highway 133 improvements. Director Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Management is asking for us to approve the interlocal agreement between the Department of Transportation and SID 413 to complete a portion of the road so that we can proceed with our CC2 project. And I move for approval of this.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Cook,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Sidzik,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Interlocal agreement, Lower Platte River Consortium. Director Kavanaugh.
Once again, management is recommending that the board approve and execute the renewal of the consortium, also known as Lower Platte Consortium, for another one-year term, and I move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Cook,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Sidzik,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Proposal to authorize gas system revenue bonds, Series 2023. Director McGowan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve the resolution to authorize gas system revenue bonds, Series 2023, as discussed in committee and described in detail in the memo dated September 26 from Mark Myers.
Second.
Discussion.
I want to thank Mr. Myers and his team for, you gave us a great presentation this summer and all the details of this very complex bond issue. So thanks to you and your team.
Okay. Yeah. Roll call.
Cook,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Sidzik,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Begley.
Yes.
Wonderful. Item 16, other matters of discussion. Do any board members have any further comments they wish to share? Are there any members of the public present who would like to address the board today.
Thank you, Chair Cook. Mark Mendenhall, Senior Vice President, General Counsel. I do have comments that I would ask your permission to make, but before I make those comments, I would ask Stephanie Mueller to come up to the lectern, and she wanted to briefly touch on an item to share with y'all.
Good morning, Stephanie Mueller, Vice President of Customer Experience. And Jay, I think he's going to be bringing up a photo here. Yep, there we go. So in 1983, the district established the Heat Aid Fund to assist customers that are experiencing hardship. In 2020, we rebranded as the Home Fund. And so to celebrate this year's 40th anniversary, a Home Fund van was created. And this van is going to be driven by field services and will be seen throughout the community. It's going to be providing our message of connecting those in need with those that can help. And so if you want to take a moment when you leave, it's parked outside at the entrance to the parking garage. And with that, any questions?
Stephanie, is that a van that's the construction crews use? It's got equipment in it? They're taking it around construction sites?
It's actually field services, and so it's going to folks all throughout the city to their homes, doing meter changes, inspecting furnaces, things of that nature.
Thank you.
Sure.
Will that van be available for things like parades or events, Memorial Park I'm thinking of?
Potentially. So we have, our hydration station that we try to use for a lot of the community events. And this is actually a working van. So we kind of took time out today out of their schedule. I think the person that normally drives it doesn't come in until a later shift. So we would just have to coordinate that with the folks in that department.
It's such a nice van, and the advertisement is so clear.
Yes.
It seems like that'd be a real opportunity. It says, make a donation today. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I would like to take another minute, Chair Cook, to recognize a special member in the audience this morning. You are all special in my eyes, but one in particular, we're joined here by one of the unsung heroes of the district that just make this place work day in and day out. And Don Noonan is planning on retiring. Don, is it next month or this month? This month. And so Mr. Noonan is retiring from the customer service department with, I believe, 63 and a half years here at the district. And I was going to say that never happens. Well, it really doesn't happen. It's such an honor to have worked with Mr. Noonan, and I know he's beloved by everybody in his department. And I was just thinking to myself, approximately 1960 when you began, no LNG, obviously no Platte West, no Platte South, so quite a different company back then. And it's largely because of people like Mr. Noonan, and he's just a genuinely really decent human being to begin with. And so we wish him all the best in retirement. If you'd like to stand on, thank you.
How many years?
Mark, I do want to make a correction. I believe, did you say 53 years? It's 63 years.
63 and a half years.
He said
He did?
years is it?
63.
Yeah.
63, yes.
You started 3 years before my grandfather retired here in 1963. Wow. After 36 years. So, wow. That's amazing, Don. Are you still going to Lincoln for ball games, baseball games? Good. Might see you there this year.
Also a Cardinal fan.
I knew there was something even better about you. So.
And Don is also the founding father of the famous Nebraska film viewing at Holy Ghost in South Omaha. All these years, I've been down to that a few times, and Don, you're a treasure. God love you. Thank you.
Are you going to be at the event tonight? Is that something that,
Yeah, we'll certainly talk to Don. I'm not sure what your calendar is this evening, but we'll certainly talk to him after the meeting.
we had to skip a few landmarks, I think, the past few years for you.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, and congratulations, Mr. Noonan. Thank you. All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Cook,
Yes.
Friend,
Yes.
Sidzik,
Yes.
McGowan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Bagley.
Yes.
We are adjourned.